So it's no secret to anyone who's watched my videos that I love me some horror movies. Arguably my favourite genre, and in 2018 we saw some moves being made within that, with some real standout fantastic moments. Hereditary. Subtle. Some unfortunate flops, some decent surprises, some remakes that many people felt didn't actually need to be made in the first place. And by many people I mean me. But a new year brings new opportunities, and it seems like our horror genre family is about to grow a little bit in 2019. Thank God. Over the course of the year we're going to see some highly anticipated sequels, we're going to see some true story adaptations, remakes that are unavoidable at this point, and some new content, because yes, filmmakers do actually come up with new ideas sometimes. So in this video we're going to go through what we're going to see this year, or at least what we should expect to see this year should a great catastrophe not occur. Although I will say this is probably not a completed list for a number of reasons, like film classifications can change, you've got new release dates coming, you've got things being bumped up, you've got new spaces being filled, you've got indies being debuted at festivals, and of course we've got things like Netflix liking to keep us on our toes with original release content all the freaking time. Not that I'm complaining, I like the surprise. Nevertheless, here are those that I could find with confirmed UK release dates for the year ahead at the time of researching for this video. Our lineup's already kicking off in January with the release of Glass on January 18th, actually just a few days away from when I'm filming this video right now. As we know, Glass is being drafted as a sequel, coming 19 years after the release of Unbreakable and 3 years after the release of Split, and we're going to be reacquainted with the characters from those films. So you're going to see Kevin and his multiple selves. Cannot wait to see James McAvoy absolutely killing that game again. You're going to see Mr. Glass, and of course you're going to see David Dunn, as well as some new ones thrown in there for good measure. With M. Night's involvement in these films, we've seen this coming, we've anticipated it so much. I just hope that with all of that it actually lives up to the hype that we've given it. And I also hope that one of his signature plot twists is going to feature in there somewhere. In terms of storyline, we don't have anything that meaty to go on. Like, we have the bare bones. We know that some kind of power struggle is going to occur between these three core characters. We know it's going to happen in some way, but besides that, we don't really have much. Obviously there's going to be spoilers and stuff, but I don't tend to look at spoilers for movies that I'm genuinely excited about. I want to be able to experience the movie in the way that it was marketed, because you'd like to think that it's marketed in the most effective way for you to digest it at the end. So that's my 2 cents on that. Stop spoiling my horror movies. I do have high hopes for the film overall, and at least if it doesn't go well we can just blame it on Patricia. 2019 is also set to see the Sundance Film Festival debut of Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. Whoa, that title's a mouthful. If you haven't heard of this film, which I know a lot of people probably haven't, it has stayed below the radar, and I kinda like that about it. It is set to follow and tell the story of the life of famed serial killer Ted Bundy, but it's going to be told from his partner's perspective. Girlfriend. Person of significance in his life, told from another perspective other than his. There have been so many documentaries made about Bundy's crimes and documenting Bundy's crimes that I'm actually quite looking forward to a movie doing a fresh take on his life without all that stuff. Although I do think the fact that he racked up quite a body count will come in there somewhere. As I said, everything about this movie has been kept pretty hush-hush to the point where I actually thought the project had been cancelled until late last year. Also still a little bit unsure about Zac Efron's casting as Ted Bundy, as it was quite an unexpected choice for me, quite surprising, but I make no judgments, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now, would it be a complete year if we didn't get a Valentine's Day horror movie release? No, it bloody well would not. Well, in that case, it's a good thing that we have the Happy Death Day sequel, Happy Death Day to You, coming out on the 14th of February. Don't know why I felt the need to sing that. I feel like I just made the movie even more creepy than it's intended to be. Why haven't I marketing these horror movies? Can we just ask that question? This comes just under a year and a half of the release of the first film, and the quick turnaround pretty much leads me to believe that a second film was always on the cards. As far as we know, the film will follow the events of the first, and it will link directly to that, and we'll see Trey and her friends just pretty much try and get on with their life until our creepy baby mask killer strikes again and knocks our protagonist back into a time loop. But this time, the killer is someone completely different, and he or she is not just coming after Tree, they're coming after everyone else as well. So Tree is now in the position again where she just has to die over and over in the attempt to save the lives of her and all her friends and her new boyfriend. No pressure, love. Don't you worry your wee self. You know, if you fail, we all die. Just so that's on your conscience, just so you're aware of that fact. Now, after watching it, Happy Death Day didn't speak to me as the type of film that needed a sequel. I don't think it needed it. I think it stood alone pretty well. But because the characters were you know, quite likeable, I'm not mad at it. Also, time loop films don't tend to be high on my list in any kind of genre. The main reason being, when you start to mess with time and involve time loops in a storyline, it's so easy to mess up, to miss a detail and create inconsistencies that, in my opinion, just spoil the movie. But with how well they handled it before and how clear they made it, I don't really see that being a problem, or at least I'd like to hope not. Coming up after Happy Death Day to You, we're going to see another sequel hitting screens on March 15th, and that is going to be Us. If you don't know, Us is being penned as the follow-up to Get Out. Now, if you've seen the movie and the amazing performances and like general cleverness of the storyline didn't give you enough of an indication already, and you need someone to spell it out for you, Get Out was so good. I really enjoyed it, so it's only natural that I'm gonna have high hopes for this movie, and if their 2017 Oscar for Best Screenplay for Get Out is any indication of what we're gonna see in the next film, I'm quite happy. Our next release comes a staggering 30 years, 3 decades after the release of its original film, and of course we're talking about Stephen King's Pet Sematary. The film that made us think twice about when we say, oh, I wish I could have them back, about a pet after they pass on, and yeah, that wore off real quick. Now, there's a lot of horror fans that are extremely touchy and protective over anything Stephen King related. It's almost like, if it's Stephen King related, no, you must never touch it, you must never attempt to make it better, you must never advance in any way. And even though I love Stephen King as much as the next person about this film in particular, I'm not that fussed at the fact they're remaking it. The original adaptation from the book wasn't a bad movie by any means. It wasn't a bad film, but it did leave a lot to be desired. So I'm thinking that 30 years is enough time to kind of get over it, dust it off, and see what we can do with this classic. As long as they don't turn it into a pissing contest with the original and just start being like, oh, look at me and my fancy cameras and my CGI and my green screens. If they don't do any of that and they focus on the content of the film, I'm Kirstie. The new Pet Sematary will be released on the 5th of April, by the way. Also this year we are getting another extension to the Conjuring universe with The Curse of La Llorona. Sounds like Piranha, and also Moana. Moana, make way, make way. No, I can't take it seriously. Ah! Even if this is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life, never gonna get that out of my head now. This film is set to hit cinemas around the 19th of April, so we've got a wee while yet, but it's coming. As far as we know, this film is gonna see La Llorona take out her PMS on a psychiatrist and her 2 children, because, you know, you're a malevolent ghosty spirit thing, why not? Anticipation for this one is high for me because, 1, Conjuring universe. Conjuring universe. Because of how much they liked this, that is the reason that Michael Chavez was given the job of directing The Conjuring 3. Now, I'd like to think that after the time that's been invested in the creation of these movies and this universe as a whole, they wouldn't just hand that job willy-nilly to any okay director. It'll be interesting to see if or how at all that it actually fits into the timeline that we have already for the horror universe, and if we get any direct links to the bits of information that we know thus far. I'm not really surprised that people are craving those little connections to start creeping in a little bit more in the Conjuring universe films after the golden nugget that we got at the end of The Nun. The closing of The Nun led us to the start of the events of The Conjuring 1, told us about the premonition that Lorraine Warren had that led us to the events of The Conjuring 2, and you know, pieces are just coming together. People want to see more of that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Moving right into the summer of 2019, it is a horror miracle. We have 2 horror movies being released on the 21st of June. It's my birthday, I'm feeling very chuffed. And then I find out what movies they are. The first one, which I guess isn't as bad, is The Grudge. Yes, I'm talking about the same Grudge that you thought had, you know, brought out 3 movies, died throughout the course of those 3 movies, been cremated and is now buried deep down in the ground where no one wants to see it anymore. Yeah, that Grudge. Coming to our screens again a whole decade after the last Grudge film, we are still left a little bit unsure about what it's actually going to be. Is it a remake, starting a complete fresh, or is it set to be a sequel of the original first Grudge film and putting the other 2 in the bin, where a lot of people may arguably say they not belong in, just in the general vicinity of. They belong in the general vicinity of the bin. Either way, is it possible that this Grudge film will redeem itself after the decline of the original trilogy? I bloody well hope so, because that was quite a decline. The second release on my day of birth is Child's Play, or Chucky, or Charles. I found articles drafting the movie and like selling and promoting the movie on all 3 titles. Before we move any further forward, can we just get our shit together? Not that it really matters, because no. No. It's not that I'm dismissive of the movie, I'm just quite confused. It doesn't seem to be drafted as a sequel, so it means they're making a brand new Chucky film. And that means a brand new timeline that is in no way affiliated or associated with the current timeline that we have, to the movies that we already have, to the timeline that has been going on for quite a long time, which would kind of make sense if it wasn't for the fact that Chucky was alive, kicking and well in that timeline. So why? If Chucky was dead and they wanted to think, you know what, let's go back and try this again, I still probably wouldn't like it, but I would understand it. This I do not understand. I'm just not clear where they're going with that. I don't get it. But here comes the Conjuring universe to be like, fear not, fair maiden. We will wipe this confusion from your mind and we will give you horror goodness in the form of Annabelle 3, releasing on the 3rd of July. By the way, I have a hair in my eyeball. What are you doing in there? 2 new entries to the Conjuring universe in the space of 1 year. Can I get an amen? The first Annabelle film, I really wasn't that keen. I liked it based on the fact that it was associated with the Conjuring universe, but nothing about it as a standalone project really excited me. It was released in 2014, and Annabelle Creation, a much more interesting film featuring the creepy doll, was released in 2017. But the third installment of Annabelle's story is set to involve Ed and Lorraine Warren. I love that already, their presence makes me happy. And also again, I want to know how this fits into the big picture. Will the events take place post Conjuring 2 and kind of work with the Curse of La Llorona to set us up for the Conjuring 3? I need answers, people! In August we will see an original film being made. Yes, I know. Shocker. And said film will be called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Admittedly, I know very little about this film other than the fact it's going to be based on the books written by Alvin Schwartz of the same title, which after researching a little bit more about, I really want to read. Very creepy imagery, a really good sense of what we could be in for in the film if they translate it properly from page to screen, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm quite happy to leave that one as all I'll know about it, because it is a new story. I think the less I know the better. I want to go into this one clean slate and just be like, give me the horror goodness. Also in August, around the 9th as far as I could find, we're going to see the release of Midsommar. Don't know if that's how you're meant to pronounce it, just sounds more menacing like that, so I'm going to stick to it. Midsommar. The mere fact that this is in any way associated to Ari Aster's Hereditary makes me very excited on its own. I don't feel like I need to know anything else, so I'm not going to speak any more about that one. I'm very excited. I hope that what was done with Hereditary is going to come through again. I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to love it. If you want an idea of what to expect and the standards that you should look out for, watch Hereditary if you haven't. And also if you haven't, what are you doing with your life? After that, of course, we have what some people would call the big blind of horror movie releases in 2019. And of course, we're talking about Stephen King's It Chapter 2, coming in 29 years after the original 2 films and 2 years after the remake of Chapter 1. Now with the base material and casting alone, this should be a pretty decent horror film with the likes of Isaiah Mustafa, James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain performing as the older versions of the original kid characters, which, do not worry, we will see again, only in flashback. So you can relax, your kid actors will be back, you can chill, okay? Could the creators just not use as much CGI and special effects in post, please? Yeah, that'd be great. Also in Chapter 2 compared to Chapter 1, I would like to see things being left up to our imagination a little bit more. Knowing the story, having read the book, having seen the original movie, you know some really shocking moments that are going to come up in the story, and I think they should take a leaf out the original's book and leave it to the audience's imagination sometimes, because quite often that's scarier. Take the comparison between the death of Georgie in the original film and the death of Georgie in the remake as a prime example. In my opinion, the original film here is scarier because you don't really see what happens to Georgie. You're just left thinking there, what did this horrible creature, what did Pennywise do to this poor little kid? I guess only time will tell if they do those things. Regardless, I will be front and centre on release date so that I can make up my mind. And the last film I want to cover will be released on October 11th, and that is Zombieland 2. Yes, 10 years on, the comedic take on the zombie apocalypse is getting a sequel, and all the original cast are coming back just for the special occasion. It's fine guys, you know, better late than never. I've only been waiting 10 years of my life. I just have questions about this film, like, will there be a time jump? If so, what will that time jump be? What is the state of the world now after that time jump? Did Tallahassee enjoy his Twinkies? Also, if we don't get a text-infused Rules of Surviving a Zombie Apocalypse opening sequence, I will be offended. Raise your hand if you've ever felt personally victimised by Zombieland 2. We need something like it. Maybe not the exact same thing, maybe not rules, but we need something like it. It was just really, really funny. Anyway, those are the movies that I wanted to cover. Those are the confirmed release dates for the movies coming out in 2019, and will be new additions to our horror genre if we take them. Some of them might be awful, in which case you can go over there with The Grudge 2 and 3. Something else I wanted to let you guys know is that I'm not just going to be, you know, talking about these films, maybe reacting to the trailers, then not talking about them again. I'm actually going to do full videos, like individual videos on each movie, and do a review of them. After they're released, as soon as I can, I'm going to watch them, and then after that formulate my thoughts and then do a full review video on them. So yeah, that's what we've got. The first review will probably be Glass. But anyway, this video is going to be really, really long. There was no other way to do it, no other way that I'd be satisfied with doing it. So if you're here, congrats. If you're not, you're lost. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please do remember to give it a big one of these. Leave one of those, tell me which one of these movies I talked about you're most looking forward to and why. If you want to see other horror movie related content, my reacting to horror movie trailers will be right up there. I don't just react to them, I actually give commentary at the end, and I talk about different things in amongst the trailer as well. So yeah, give them a go. Also, my mental health awareness and suicide prevention fundraiser will be right down there. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I highly encourage you to watch them. It's an entirely different side to content that you may already watch me doing, and it's very, very worthwhile. If you want some more information about what the fundraiser actually is, maybe go to my Twitter page. I've posted some information about it there, and also I've put a little blurb on the Just Giving page that you can donate to it in the top line of the description. So yeah, feel free to do that. But other than that, much love you guys, and I shall see you all very soon with more videos and reviews. Bye bye!